Today on the newscast, Israel responds to a massive Hamas rocket barrage out of Gaza and Lebanon. Are the Iranian regime and its terror proxies pushing for war? Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. A very tense Passover and Good Friday in the Holy Land as Israel's enemies, Iran's proxies, bombard the Jewish state with dozens of rockets. Now, we want to go through four different areas that we're covering here with the chaos right now. Number one, the situation out of Lebanon. Number two, Gaza, both linked to Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Number three, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where this really all started on Tuesday earlier this week. And then number four, the Palestinian terror wave in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland. Let's start with the situation right now, an overview, folks, of Israel's response. Rewind to yesterday as we reported here in the newscast. And if you missed any of our newscasts this week, just go to our homepage here under newscast. While you are there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Folks, things are happening at a very rapid clip in the Middle East, the world's most chaotic, volatile, and strategic region. So you don't want to miss any of our Watchman newscast and commentaries where we break down what all of this means for you, no matter where you live. But the quick rewind to yesterday, 34 rockets launched out of southern Lebanon towards Israel, the largest volley of rockets to come from Lebanon since 2006 and the Second Lebanon War, which pitted Israel against Hezbollah. That's number one. We had the Lebanon rocket barrage. Also, overnight, 44 rockets launched from Gaza into southern Israel, and there were dozens more launched also on Wednesday and Tuesday out of Gaza. So we've got Lebanon, Gaza, rocket barrages on two fronts that Israel is facing right now. Again, this all started on Tuesday in Jerusalem. No surprise here, folks, on the eve of Passover. This seems to be a very unfortunate annual ritual for Hamas and Islamic Jihad, stirring things up on the Temple Mount. We had young Palestinians barricading themselves inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, storing weapons there. The Israeli police went in to clear them out, and clashes ensued, all with the support and cheerleading of Hamas and Islamic Jihad. That really started things off Tuesday. The rockets started coming out of Gaza, and then Hezbollah said they would support any response against Israel as well, which brings in the Lebanon theater of things, and then terror attack in Judea and Samaria today, which we'll break down in a minute. So that's kind of the backdrop for you. Here's where we stand right now. Israel responded. The Security Cabinet was convened by Prime Minister Netanyahu today to come up with a response to this rocket barrage. They responded on two fronts, in Lebanon and Gaza. Now, you may be saying, wait a minute, you're saying this was a Hamas thing, and the Israel Defense Forces made clear that these projectiles out of Lebanon were launched by Hamas. And even some of our commenters said, wait, Lebanon, that's Hezbollah. Hamas is Gaza mainly. Oh, what's going on here? Well, Hezbollah is aligned with Hamas, folks. Surprise, surprise, these two Iranian proxies have a very cozy relationship, and Hezbollah has allowed Hamas and other Palestinian terror groups operating mainly in Palestinian refugee camps in southern Lebanon, which is Hezbollah's home base. They've allowed Hamas and these other groups to build a terror infrastructure there and set up some terror apparatus under the watchful eye of Hezbollah, and no doubt with the urging and support of their master, the Iranian regime. Number two, Gaza. No surprise here, folks. This continues to be the Hamas terror onslaught from Gaza continues to be a thorn in Israel's side. So Israel responded on two fronts. Airstrikes in Gaza targeting Hamas terror tunnels, at least two of them, and Hamas military and terror targets, weapons depots, etc. The same goes for the Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon, in three different areas of southern Lebanon, apparently, right near that northern Israel border, specifically the Tyre region of southern Lebanon. Israel also struck Hamas targets there, but it seems that Israel was careful not to strike at Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and we'll get to the bigger picture there in a second. But on to Jerusalem. Today, there were Friday prayers, obviously. It's Friday at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It seemed that things have calmed down a bit from where they were on Tuesday and Wednesday, which again, on the eve of Passover, of course, the world howled and gnashed its teeth, not at the jihadists using the Al-Aqsa Mosque as a weapons depot, but at Israel for daring to clear them out of the mosque. So Israel is in a no-win situation here, folks. They can't win. If they stand pat and do nothing, perhaps terror attacks emanate from the Temple Mount or plotted there, planned there. And if they do something, the world howls. So tough situation for Israel. As always, it's always a situation, sadly, for the world's one and only Jewish state. The world's ire is consistently against Israel, it seems, no matter what Israel does. That's the situation in Jerusalem. Lastly, Judea and Samaria. We call it Judea and Samaria. It's the biblical heartland, and that's what the Bible calls it. The world mainly knows it as the West Bank, but nevertheless, a murderous terror attack there today. An Israeli family was driving along the highway in the West Bank. It is Shabbat is about upon us as I come to you around 12 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. Israelis are ready to observe Shabbat. It's Passover, of course. Families getting together. Well, Palestinian gunmen, and they haven't been caught yet as I come to you here noon Eastern Time on Friday, April 7th, opened fire on this car and murdered two sisters and critically wounded their mother. So a murderous terror attack today in Samaria, in northern Israel. And this is part of an ongoing terror wave that we've seen over the past several weeks, really the past several months, that we've documented here in the newscast. So that's the situation right now. Israel did respond to the rockets out of Lebanon and Gaza. Israel seems to have calmed things on the Temple Mount for the moment, and there's a manhunt right now for these terrorists in the West Bank who murdered two sisters and critically wounded their mother. A very busy Good Friday, as I said, and a very tense Passover, sadly, for the people of Israel. What does this all mean, big picture? We could see a major war break out any day. Certainly we are on war footing, or Israel's on war footing, and its enemies are as well. But what's more likely here, I believe, is this is more probing and taking advantage by the Iranian regime. Why? Real simple. We've talked about this on the newscast a bunch over the past few weeks. Israel's enemies see the internal division inside Israel right now. Massive demonstrations, protests against the government, tens of thousands of people in the streets, and Israel's enemies smell weakness when they see that. They are salivating at the thought of the people of Israel being divided and disunity in Israel, and they see Israel obviously as more vulnerable if the people of Israel are distracted by internal discord and not united. Number one, we saw probing about 3 weeks ago. Hezbollah plants a bomb in northern Israel. Thankfully, there weren't mass casualties, but that was certainly their intention. That was one probe, and this is a larger probe. Let's stir things up in Jerusalem, and let's fire some rockets out of Gaza and Lebanon and see how the Zionist entity, as they would call Israel, responds. Let's see if they're too distracted to have any kind of meaningful response. So another probe. Iran continues to hold Hezbollah in reserve for a day to come. Here in the newscast, we've called it the Great Northern War that is coming. But folks, make no mistake about it, this is certainly Iran testing the waters once again. And Iran sent a drone into Israeli airspace earlier this week over the Golan Heights that was shot down. Again, the Iranian regime smells weakness inside Israel right now. I believe they're wrong, but nonetheless, they're getting bolder and getting more confident to the point that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, said earlier this week, Khamenei predicted, that Israel would cease to exist within 25 years. Now it looks like that may come much sooner because they're tearing themselves apart from within. That was the observation of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. So the regime is very confident right now. Meanwhile, before we go, one last thing to mention, Turkey's radical president Recep Erdogan, remember him? He's been on a charm offensive with Israel over the past few months. Well, it looks like that may be out the window. Today, Erdogan spoke to the president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, also known as the Butcher of Tehran, and Erdogan blasted Israel and said the Islamic world should unite against Israel over its aggression, supposed aggression, against the Palestinians. So Erdogan dropping the mask, as we knew would eventually happen. I hope and pray that Israel's eyes are wide open when it comes to him. I believe they are. But a very dangerous time right now, folks, no doubt. It seems that we have a temporary lull as I come to you again at noon Eastern Time on Friday, April 7th. But we'll see what the weekend brings. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for just a hedge of protection around Israel and the people of Israel right now. A very precarious time. We know that a showdown with Hezbollah is going to happen eventually. Hezbollah can use Hamas as a proxy to proxy. Hezbollah is Iran's proxy. Now Hezbollah using Hamas as a proxy in a sense. But eventually Israel will be forced to go directly toe-to-toe with Hezbollah. And by the way, if you doubted any Hezbollah-Hamas collaboration, the deputy political chief of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, was in Beirut yesterday meeting with Hezbollah officials as the rockets were launched from southern Lebanon, which is Hezbollah country. I'm sure it's all just a big coincidence. But folks, again, that major war is coming down the pike, and we hate to say it, but eventually Israel's going to have to deal with Hezbollah decisively. You cannot accept a situation where an Iranian proxy devoted to your destruction is perched on your northern border with some 150,000 rockets and missiles pointed at every inch of Israel. It is a collision course, and that great northern war, Israel forced to face off against Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hezbollah and Iran in Syria to the north, it's coming, and Hamas will also throw its hat in the ring during that war. The good news is the God of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. He is on the throne. Don't be discouraged. Stay in prayer on all of this. Happy Easter, happy Resurrection Day to everyone. Happy Passover to my Jewish friends as well. Thanks so much for joining us today. God bless you, and until next time, remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.